What's up? What's up? Back to the Frost Buddy podcast. So glad you came back, or maybe you're here for the first time. But, if you haven't been here, I'm Brock, your host, also the co founder of Frost Buddy. If you don't know what Frost Buddy is, we invented the world's first universal can cooler. So it went from 0 to 8 figures in less than a year. My brother and I had zero experience, never done an online business before, but here we are, learning, failing our way to success. And you know what? I'm here because I like to talk about business, my experiences. I like to talk about fitness, personal motivation, whatever that may be. And you know what? One person might get some help, might get some advice that maybe changes their life. Maybe it helps someone else. So if you feel like there's some value, please share the show because, it's pretty new. We're still growing, but I believe that I can create one of the biggest podcasts in the world because that's just my mindset. And I think we can get there. And if you just keep going, I bet in 10 years, I'll probably be pretty big. So let's get to it. Today, we got an interesting one. So I want to talk a little bit about failure, a little bit about setbacks and just getting punched in the face. Because in life, in business, what I found out is it happens quite often. And for me, the last month, it's happened, hell, a lot actually. And I've just gotten just kicked in the nuts quite a bit. It's like over and over. It's like every week. It's like right as something's going well, boom, there it goes. Just get slapped in the face again. And so I think that it's not just me, right? It happens to everyone. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why it's a beautiful thing though. And why, for me, I feel like, man of faith, I feel like God plays a role in that and why that happens. And, why that happens both in business and life and why, honestly, for me, entrepreneurship is the greatest personal development journey in the entire world. It's the best thing you could ever do in terms of personal development, mainly because it's a freaking roller coaster and it will kick you while you're down. It'll keep on going. So, what have I learned in my beautiful 2 years of Frost Buddy and act in this rocket ship going from 0 to 8 figures and, you know, literally being in college for one of those years, just getting out of college and, hiring 20 plus people in the last 12 months. Yeah, it's a little crazy. And sure enough, there's just going to be some bumps in the road because I'd never even hired a single person. Now I'm like, how do I manage 20 of these people? Not to mention, probably, I think they're in like 6 different countries. So that's another piece of the pie. But here to talk about what the setbacks are and why is it a good thing? Because, for me, as we got from zero to let's say $100,000 a month, let's say we had our first 6 figure month. Oh my God, crazy. Like I was on cloud nine. Whatever we made, it didn't even matter because you're just like, oh my God, we're growing so much. And then you have your first you know, your first 7 figure month and it's just on another level of crazy and you're just like, what the hell? How's this happening? Um, it's so fast. And then it's like, oh wait, we got to keep this going or we got to bring on people. And as the company gets bigger, the problems get bigger and the problems become probably more frequent because that's just the nature of it. More people, more problems, more money, more problems. And that's just how it is. So, as we've grown, as it's like, hey, no, how do we do 7 figures every single month, even in our bad months? How does that happen? And then you might have just a massive mistake. Maybe it's a supplier issue. Maybe it's out of your control, like a macro issue, like the economy going to shit. Maybe it's inflation. Maybe it's our beautiful administration that's doing such a wonderful job and just putting America and, just putting the wealth of America in such harm and just destroying people's pockets and their livelihoods. And all of a sudden, they don't really have the capability to buy your product because they're trying to pay for $5 gas. How do you combat that setback? What is that like? And for me, I'm only 24, and so I took it a little personal, a little hard at first. I still do sometimes, but you know, you got to learn real quick that you can't. And it happens, life happens, shit happens, and sometimes it's just gonna hit you when you least expect it. And when you think that you're smooth sailing, when you think you're riding, it still hits you again, and you're just like, God, what am I doing? What's the plan here? What am I supposed to do? And what I've found out, you know, whether it's a bad month of profit, whether we lost money that month, whether it's, a lawsuit, whether it's blackmail, whether it's whatever it might be. And I'm telling you, the craziest shit has happened to us in 2 years, in basically a year, that you would not believe. I probably can't even say most of it on here, but anything like that, that's just personal, that feels personal, and just stuff that could hit you at any time, what do you learn? And that's the thing that I found out. When we're doing a 7-figure month and things are rolling, it feels like just nothing can go wrong. I'm not really learning anything, because what's to learn? What's to look at and learn from? Because things are going great. You don't think about it. You don't have to get creative. You don't have to get unique. Yes, you keep pushing, but like, you're going with the river. You're going with the current because the current's moving. Now, what happens when all of a sudden things drop off the table? What happens when you get that lawsuit hits you? What happens when all of a sudden we look down and we're like, oh shit, we had a huge mistake and we lost $100,000 this month? Well, now, or what happens when the economy goes to hell and we're like, oh, we have 500,000 units that are too many because no one can buy all of a sudden because they don't have any money either. And it's not our fault. It's not their fault. It just happens. What do I do in that point? I have to take a step back. I got to look at it and I got to get creative, and I have to become a problem solver, and I have to, just grind. I got to get down. I got to go, what are the options? What can we do? And what happens in all of that? You learn so much. So whether it's we get sued really early on, well, guess what? I didn't know anything about legal, about business, about trademarks, patents. I didn't know anything. But guess what? All of a sudden, I got to learn real freaking quick, and I got to learn everything I can. So I'm talking to lawyers and I'm learning, and you're not thinking about the fact that you're learning. You just have to, because I'm in fight or flight and I'm going, God damn, I got to go. Like, otherwise this business is gone. Like, we're going to lose it. And so, I look back, you look back after, 6, 7 months, a year, and you're just like, whoa, like, I know so much more. Like, I'm not scared of a lawsuit. I know what happens. I know about the trademarks. If I'm going to go, add a new product name, all of a sudden I have, I'm going to check with my lawyer because it's just second nature, because I learned it. If I am looking at a patent, I just know the ins and outs of it. And like, you just know so much because you had to. But guess what? If I didn't get sued, I wouldn't know any of that. Like, I wouldn't have had to learn it so fast, and I couldn't help other people that are in that situation. So, that's one instance where you just got to learn quick. And the other would be, like this year, crap happened. We had too much inventory, like everyone else in the business. And not in the business world, like most consumer brands had too much inventory, and you're like, crap, we can't make our payments. We can't pay off our line of credit, our loans. Like, what do we do? And you got to get creative. You got to negotiate. And all of a sudden we got to go back to our supplier and be like, hey, like, we're not going to be able to do this necessarily, but we're going to work with it. We're going to do our best. Here's our plan. We're going to pay you this, and this. When we get it, we got a schedule. We'll pay you some interest. We'll make it work, and we'll keep this relationship. And we got to negotiate, right? And, in that process, if we weren't in such a bind, such a pickle of going, crap, we might lose the business, then I wouldn't know, to look at suppliers and to go, wow, I can negotiate with them. There's a lot of wiggle room if you just create that relationship, and we wouldn't have looked at, different retail stores and had to reach out and go, hey, like, we wouldn't have made those connections, those contacts, because we just wouldn't have been thinking about it. We wouldn't have been in fight or flight going, our back's against the wall. And I'm not saying it's great to have your back against the wall all the time, but when your back's against the wall, when you have a setback, is when you learn the most. And that's what I'm trying to get across, is that personally, I felt so ill. I felt so bad about it. And I was like, crap, like, this is just like, you just feel beaten down, but you shouldn't. Like, if you can change your mindset, if you can look at that as, wow, look at how much we're getting to learn today. Like, it's crazy, right? Like, look at how much I got to learn about the production side of things, the supplier world, or when we have a bad profit month, look at how much I'm learning about really digging into our numbers, about really knowing the data, really knowing everything, that there is to know about this business. Like, that because the money was flowing in, 6 months ago, you don't think about it. You don't look at it. You don't really dial it in. And now when things turn, when the economy comes back, when it's doing well, thriving, and we fought through that hardship time, we fought through, and really just did everything we could to scrap and to stay alive and to work, every single minute of every single day to fix it and to, fix that problem, to make a plan, to look at the data, to work with retailers, your suppliers, to do all of that we had to learn. We had to learn it because, if you don't, you fail. If you don't, the business goes in the ground, it goes away. And so, as I look back, and this happens, not too long ago, and I'm going, wow. I end that day and I'm like, look at how much we learned. That's crazy, right? We're able to, in one day, probably 8 hours worth of work, learn more about our numbers, learn more about our profit and every single piece moving in the business and every single thing that has to do with our numbers. We're able to learn more in 8 hours than I had probably learned in a year. I'm not joking you. And it's because things were going so smooth. And then when things all of a sudden aren't, when you get smacked in the face one month, you're like, oh shit, let's learn. Let's figure this out. What is it? And you can't back down. I can't back down because I can't let it go. It's my livelihood, right? This is everything to me. And I take it personally. So you got to figure it out and you got to buckle down and you learn. And it's so crucial. And I love it too. Where I would normally get depressed and upset, that maybe that happened, you can go and say, wow, look at this. We can fix this, and this. Guess what? We're only 2 years in. When I look back at 10 years, and I look back at 2 years in and go, man, thank God we had that mistake. Because look at how much we learned. Look how much better we got. Me and Scott just said the other day, it's just like lifting, right? You might have one bad month. You might have one plateau. You might even have a setback. You might have an injury. But if you do it every single day consistently and you research and you learn and you're taking the right supplements, you're doing the right things for your body, it's the same thing in business. If you're learning every day, you're putting in the hours, you're doing the right things for your business to help it flourish, to help it grow. It might not grow every single month like you want it to, but when you look back over 10 years to your body after lifting for 10 straight years, consistently doing the right things, you're going to look back and be like, holy shit, look at the gains. Look at the gains, right? And so, it's the same thing in business. You have to take a step back. You have to look at an infinite view, not a finite period of time. And you got to be like, wow, 2 years in, we had this huge mistake. We lost a bunch of money right here, but we didn't die. And what's great is we can just we can fix this mistake and we can turn the profit, and we will turn the profit every single month from here on out because we learned about this mistake and we learned what we need to do. We learned how to be more efficient, how to be more effective. You learn how to get better, and it's just going to happen. And I think in 10 years, we'll probably still have some setbacks, and we'll probably just look at it and be like, you know what? We're still learning. We're still absolutely learning. So, it's just a mindset thing. It's how you look at it, because for a long time, I didn't look at it the right way. And if I can help someone out there, someone look at, these setbacks, getting punched in the face, if you can look at it a little different, if you can look at it with the right point of view, I think it's going to help drastically, whether it's business, whether it's personal life, whether it's fitness, whatever it might be, just look at it different. You get to learn, and it's a beautiful thing because that's when you learn the most, and that's when you have to. So, that's really about all I got. Hopefully it helps a little bit. Share the show. I'm not going to run any ads ever. I know, I told you, it's going to be the biggest podcast ever, but still not going to run ads. I promise. Well, maybe I'll run ads for Frost Buddy, but that's a little different. But anyway, I want everyone to just, you're going to get punched in the mouth. And how are you going to look at it? Ask yourself. That's all I got today, So we'll see you next time. Come back.